Hello you lovelies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sopho and I am filming the second video of my pregnancy series. I am past halfway through right now and she is active, she's giving kicks, is growing. I don't fit in any of my clothes anymore. Well, I'm wearing still one, but I really struggle to get myself dressed and most of the things don't get closed up. So we are fully in. There is no way back. I really wanted to have in this series a separate dedicated video with regards to the fears related to generally pregnancy, but also future, raising of our kid, financial topics, health topics, self worry, and a lot of other worries that are probably very common to many expected parents. So it won't be anything groundbreaking, but it's something that definitely occupies your mind once you are in this state. Yes, it is absolutely magical time of our lives. I would say the most magical. I did not expect it to be this impressive and this important before I got into the state. I don't know, there are girls out there who are thinking about their marriage or their weddings or their pregnancy and dream about that state. They have certain imagination how it should look like, how it should feel like. I never really thought about it until I came to the state. Actually, I really had a huge respect, distance, a little sarcasm, jokes about like being a mom and everything revolving about like expecting kid. Which is not fully the case in my case, I must be honest. I'm still very much self-aware and self-focused at the moment. I obviously have the realization that there is a kid growing inside me, especially now that she is like doing this little boxing, you know, but I don't have the image how she's gonna be, what she's gonna look like, how she's gonna feel, and it's still so distant and abstract. This life that I know from the books or from all these videos that I'm watching is something that belongs to someone else, if you know what I mean. Probably it's gonna come slowly, step by step. With this knowledge of it being so magical and extraordinary experience, there comes lots of anxieties and fears related to it, which is probably absolutely normal for any expectant parent and probably for me as well. But I really wanted to document it, so yeah, let's do that. I think I would not be lying when I say that the very first worry that set a nest in my brain was straight when I saw the positive test, or most importantly when I told it to Falco. Once I articulated it loud and it became a fact out there in the world. Even though I was pretty chilled about getting pregnant, I talked about it in the first video, which I'm gonna link here. Once it was there, I started to think, for myself at least, what's gonna happen? Does it stick? Is it too early to be overjoyed about this? Can I be happy about myself? I'm also such a person, I really love to share the negative and the positive sides of my life with the people I love, with my friends, with my family. My husband was more reserved about this and wanted that we keep it for ourselves, at least first 3 months, which was the most difficult decision for me, to be frank. That's just not the way I am, and I know that it's an individual decision, there is no right or wrong about this, but I don't think that it would have been a really traumatizing or additionally traumatizing if I miscarried and if others would have known about it. I even talk about like my failures here with people who I personally don't know on YouTube, because this baby is not only mine but both of ours. I really wanted to respect him in that regards. As the weeks passed and our first appointment for the checkup approached, I started to worry, is there gonna be a heartbeat? What about the trisomy related issues or any other genetic diseases? And I really want to be clear here because I know that this can be a very sensitive topic and polarizing topic for a lot of people. I have huge respect to those parents who decide to get their kids even when their trisomy test results come positive, but it was something that was absolutely clear for me from the beginning that this would have been a big decisive point for our pregnancy. I've never talked about it obviously online, but there are a number of genetic issues that I struggle with as well. None of them are life-threatening. They are mostly related to, for example, acid reflux or hemorrhoids that I genetically struggle with, skin-related issues, having the scaly skin on my head, dermatitis, but also having the autoimmune disease related to the skin is definitely running in both of our families. But that's something that you can't change and have to accept it as a fact, which you live with, and you never questioned it or you never gave too much thought about it. But once you're pregnant, you start to worry about it or think at least about it, how it's gonna be for your baby. Is she's gonna be carrying one of those? Overall, they say that after 12 weeks is passed, you will stop worrying on the most terms, and I think that was the case for my husband, but definitely not for me. You're obviously following through like different books and chapters and development stages. My belly is not even right now very big, proportionate to my posture and body, I would say, but even the doctor told that the growth of hers is like 34% of overall kids in that development stage, which means that she is smaller than average. And before she told that it's okay, I was constantly worried seeing the other pregnant women in the same weeks having bigger growth, them retelling that they already felt their kick, the movement of the kid, and I was not feeling any of it. Just to tell the concrete example, second ultrasound that we did together was so scary for me, because recent to that period I heard from a very close person of mine that she had a miscarriage. I know that that had nothing to do with me, and there are a number of other people who go through bad events in life, but because I also was not feeling her move at all, I thought that there might be some negative news, and I definitely did not want it to happen 20 weeks pregnant. So when we came to the ultrasound and we put this gadget on my tummy, she was not moving, and in that blitz of a second my heart skipped a beat. It just stopped. Everything was still. I can't even describe that condition. I never had such huge fear of losing something that I didn't know was so important for me. And luckily, probably because he is so experienced with all the other moms who could be also worried about it, he said, I see the heartbeat, don't worry, she is just sleeping. Overall, that type of constant worry never really leaves you. Obviously, I try to remind myself that everyone else went through it, it's gonna be okay, but I don't have the reference point of what is normal and what is not normal. And sometimes when other women say like, you will know, you will feel, and when you have this gut feeling that something is not normal, it's rather better to check. I wonder how often should I do that, because that will mean that I will be constantly sitting in ER. You obviously can tell that I'm a little too much worried about all this. I try to remind myself to just chill out and don't make everyone else crazy the same way that I am. So that's the worries related to the baby health, but it doesn't end there. I have a lot of worries as well related to myself and our life generally, but also my being during the birth, postpartum, how I'm gonna feel, how I'm gonna recover. Again, I don't think that I should waste your time saying that there are millions of women who went through it, but that's not the measure against which I want to measure myself. I just worry about how I feel and how overwhelmed I can be. I know myself. That's the best metric for me to know how difficult it can get. So it's not only worrying, but it's more like mourning my life, my routine, my comfort of peaceful mornings, of having time for myself. Obviously, I have a lot of questions how it's gonna affect our relationships, because I tend to be triggered by so many things and then make everyone's life a hell around me. You probably know, I don't have to probably go into depth of that, but it creates this tension, and having always the negative mood can significantly and negatively affect the relationships. I don't know why I go that far even, but in my mind I revive a lot of examples where couples went apart after getting baby, where in their life everything was fine before baby was there, then all of a sudden it was not. Having two grown-ups in single household is something else, because both are responsible for their own lives, and once the baby is there, you definitely want the full commitment of both on the same stage. The problem in there is me, because I have a certain imagination of how life runs and how household runs, and things that trigger me, items that stand around, things that are not washed, dried up, like groceries that are not packed, everything away, can absolutely spoil my morning, my day, any type of moment. And I know that a lot of people talk about like having relaxed start, sleeping the moment when your baby sleeps. I don't know if it's gonna get more relaxed for me, if I'm gonna get more relaxed around those things. I hope so, because otherwise it can be very difficult. I hope you get what I'm speaking about. Like, no one can really exactly follow the level of tidiness or the level of organization that I expect to be around myself, and that definitely can be a challenging point. As for the birth, we have made our mind that I'm gonna be giving birth in the hospital because I definitely want to get a painkiller, and I have a trust in the medical personnel, so I don't really worry that much about the birth process itself, but what is then to follow. Thinking about the post-baby bleeding combined with the hemorrhoid, sleepless nights and the fluctuation of the hormones can really throw me out of window in my imagination. So I'm very similar in my posture and in my health history, or how I react to the diseases, as my mom is. So I assume, maybe wrongfully, that my post-pregnancy period is going to be very similar to hers. And I know that she was very, very sick after giving birth. She was like lying 10 days long, her bleeding was super heavy, her milk ducts were congested, were super painful. None of her 3 kids took the breast. Obviously she did not have the lactation consultant or that much of a help that is out there right now, and that I'm privileged to have as well. I already subscribed to many different courses, like the birth course, first aid course, after giving birth gymnastics. I plan to get a consultant for lactation. So they're gonna be people come and consult and help. But should I lie when I say that I am still worried about it? It's a pain that your body goes through, your mind goes through. I think it's pretty normal that you don't want that, right? And it's probably very selfish that I talk about it at all, and not very good tone to the young girls who we tell to love themselves the way they are. But I really am worried about getting stretch marks, because I also know that my mom had quite a lot on her belly area. So I'm using the hyaluronic acid, which has the slightest evidence of having maybe an impact of getting lesser stretch marks signs on your belly, together with combined with creams. Fact is that no one really knows if that helps at all. There are obviously treatments afterwards, like laser treatments, etc., which could help you remove all those or at least lessen the appearance of it. But that's related as well to the financial costs that are obviously raising with the expecting kid, the need to arrange her room, to buy things, which I do eagerly, which I love to do, but obviously money is a limited resource as well. You gotta think how much you can do and what's gonna be your priority. That sort of combines in an overall selfish thought, if I will have to, or if I will naturally drift my priorities on the second place and put hers on the first place, which I don't know. At the moment I can't really tell how I feel about it. It was always very important for me how I liked myself when looking in the mirror, and having that changed could really significantly impact my mood, my self-consciousness, and self-awareness. If you wanted it open and genuine, that's something that is on my mind, that definitely occupies my mind as well. I slightly touched upon the financial topics, and I still want to mention that as well. It's not so that even if I didn't work at all that we would not be able to live, but I was never a person who was living on someone else's costs. I've always had my own money and never really asked for getting one or another item to anyone else, even in the partnerships, even in the relationships, even in the marriage. Now getting the maternal leave guarantees me to have certain type of income for first year, but because my contract ends, I won't have the possibility to come back. So after the 1 year, if I don't manage to find a job straight away, I'm gonna be left with nothing personal income wise, which is a big deal for me. But there comes as well contradicting thoughts like, am I going to be ready fully to jump into 100% job after that? Will I find anything at all? Because I've been searching for jobs for so long, and it's not that it works on the first try. Will I have to take any random job just to have a job? Because that's the bad experience I have had this long, and that I actually did not want to do. I wanted to start with a clear slate and to be very certain when taking some kind of job. On the other hand, not having the financial security to the degree that I imagine would mean having restrictions in one or another field of our life, and would make it even more difficult for us to have the comfort of life that we want. I know I'm complaining right now on the first world problems, and there are so many people out there who are struggling, and it sounds ridiculous for others, but again, don't compare one person to another. That will bring you nowhere. There will always be people who have a lot less, and there will be always people who have a lot more, and actually that's the only thing that really annoys me when talking to the older generations, who say like, oh, we grew our kids without even having a washing machine. well, but the time is gone. We don't have to talk about it, right? Because it's not something that we are dealing with nowadays and that is common nowadays. So I don't think that I expect something huge from life, but why should it be surprising that I would not want to make a step back, and not only a single step, but like 5 steps back? The topic of the job is also very closely related to the thoughts and worries related to raising our kid, and that really makes me emotional when I think about it. I grew up so that my mom was mostly around us. I went to the school where she was a teacher. She was not my teacher, but she was in the same facility, so we went together, we came back together. Being a teacher in Georgia means that she only had a half-day school period and then would spend the rest of the day with us at home, even if she was doing some private tutorship or I don't know, just taking care of us. So we always had fresh meals at the table. She always cared for us, but most importantly, she gave so much love and attention that I don't know if I can ever pay back. I don't have to, but I don't know if I can be even a 10% of the mom that she was for me. That's something that I would want for our daughter, to be a friend of hers, to be the closest person of hers. Because I remember that any time, in any stage of my life, when I needed something, when something was worrying me, she was the first person I would go through. I knew she would understand, she would not judge, she would not question why I felt a certain way, but would have an open ear. Again, I know that a lot of people will say that that's just how moms are, but in my surrounding not a lot of moms were, so I don't know, it was just different for the other kids, and I really had a trust and hope in her, but that also meant that she had time for that. Working 100% would mean that I would not have that quality time to spend with my kid. So having these compromises, what is more important and how do you want your life to be? What is more important for her, but what is also important for me? How to arrange a life where there is still a space for me, but she is also very well accommodated and I don't have the feeling of guilt or missing, is very difficult, especially when you think about like starting a new job in completely new branch or in firm. There is an expectation, especially at the beginning, that you give like a full get and are present. Maybe not do overtimes per se, but it's implied as well most of the time. As a beginner, will it be possible at all with such a little baby? Also generally about raising her to a very good, decent person. I mentioned this in the first video as well, and I want to repeat that my biggest wish for her is to be a happy person, and to be a kind person, decent person, to be accepting and open and don't judge, but most importantly to be happy. But I also worry in the process of doing that to make a lot of mistakes, which obviously gonna happen, we can't avoid that, but to lose her trust, to lose the friendship with her, especially that people around me often tell that I can be very imposing and very one-sided and single-minded in my likings, for example, to make the choices based on how I like things and often not take into consideration in private life the likings of others. I'm scared to limit her and steer her in certain way. So how to come to a point where I see her for who she is, what she wants, and have patience with her, have an understanding of her, and don't snap out, don't get overwhelmed. How to be just a good mom. Is there a recipe for it out there? Probably not. All in all, I rambled very lot. But if you can appreciate that, I really opened up my heart and I was very pure in my thoughts. Sometimes think that I open up way too much for people out there who don't know me. But to be truthful, it is more difficult for me to talk about these things with someone I know, because there is a concrete person in the room who I am opening up to, and right now speaking it to a camera feels like I'm speaking these thoughts out in an abstract. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. So if you made it up to now, I am very grateful. Don't forget to like, subscribe for further pregnancy and baby related topics and videos. I'm gonna call it today right now. Get prepared and go out because it's Saturday, and I wish you at the same time very good weekend. Hope you have a lovely one as well.